Hello, everyone. Today, you're going to be blown away by the show. It's American Fascism with Spaceships.
On the Mighty Peculiar.
Mighty Peculiar. Peculiar.
Hey, Matt, it is so good to see you. This is Denver Riggleman. We're bringing you the Mighty Peculiar, as you see with our incredible openings that we have here, which are practiced for months on end.
Oh, yeah. So much work goes into them. I even bring props, I'm actually, just trying to test out, see if I buy the really good tinfoil or if I buy the really cheap tinfoil. I don't know.
Well, I think we should I think we should have stock in Reynolds, right?
Yes.
Right now with the way this country's going. But I want to say again, I should probably properly introduce myself since we've done this so many times. I'm Denver Riggleman, former congressman, former senior technical advisor to the January 6th committee, and also years of military intelligence in the signals intelligence space, and a best-selling author of The Breach. And I make whiskey.
And I'm Matt Anderson, and I have an awesome Mothman piece of artwork.
Dude, that picture is absolutely, it's epic. It's epic.
So I don't know what else you need to know about me. I guess that's pretty much it. I do a lot of research and I read a lot.
Oh, I think
I'm funny, but people tell me otherwise.
Well, no, well, which is funny.
But it's odd, isn't it? It's peculiar, if you will.
It's very good. One of the first crypto books I read was The Mothman. That's why I love your picture there, was that actual book. I mean, I was big into in search of when I was a kid and stuff like that. But I read The Mothman, the Men in Black in that specific book. I know everybody thinks about the Richard Gere movie. Really wasn't true to the book. But the creepiest thing wasn't the Mothmen. It was the fact that the Men in Black were implied to be interdimensional beings or aliens themselves, that actually can manipulate time and space. Right.
Remember the scene where he goes and steals the pen from the little newspaper, the lady that runs the little newspaper, and just doesn't understand what it is, which is pretty funny because they somehow got here from another planet and that planet hadn't invented pens.
Obviously, or they didn't do any type of research for pens. But it's funny when we talk about spaceships and aliens that this type of belief system has been around a while, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just 1947, which is when we really saw the spike in sightings, but it does seem like this alien connection, to belief systems, which we're seeing today, can be really nuts, even if you go back to the 1920s and 30s. Isn't that correct?
That is
Mr.
correct.
Matt?
But you know what? Hold on. Just getting some signal interference here. If you're watching this, hit the like button, the subscribe button, turn on the notifications, because if you don't, Denver's sending the black helicopters after you. And he knows how to pilot them himself. So Denver himself might pilot a black helicopter, come find you, and sit you down and make you turn on the notifications.
I might make you, or take you to Area 51 where we automatically force you through interrogation. We have aliens force you to subscribe right to our show. I think what's amazing, the last few shows we've done, the last couple of shows, is our ability to look at history in a way I think nobody else can, because we look at the nuttiness and zaniness, but that should scare the hell out of people. So, Matt, what the hell do you have for us today? Okay.
So let me start with a question for you. This went over big last time, actually, when I posed questions to you. People seem to like it. So you're a busy guy. You take lots of meetings. You're all over the place, right? Have you ever taken a meeting with the Ascended Masters?
Thinking about through my schedules, everything that I've done, I can't remember a meeting once with the Ascended Masters.
So what we've just learned is you are no Jesus. You're no Hitler. That's good. But you're also no William Dudley Pelley, William Dudley Pelley, I will only call him Dudley from this point forward because, one, the name's too long, and two, it's funny.
It is funny.
Dudley, He was born in 1890. This is what you got to know. And then nothing interesting happens to him for about 30 years. So really our story starts in about 1920.
That's great.
How do you like that bio?
Well, so not a high achiever at this point is what you're saying.
No. But what's it going to be interesting, you're going to find out, is this guy is surprisingly successful and also really weirdly ineffective in a weird balance. So Dudley, actually,
or like Elon Musk.
You know, there are going to be a lot of parallels to today, and I almost feel like it could be like a play-at-home game show, like where people could like, because there's going to be some stuff, and you're just going to be like, oh, that sounds like something that happened today. That sounds like something that happens today. But what you need to know right from the start is he was always weird. So just so you know. But he was a successful writer, which doesn't make him not weird. That actually enhances the chance that he would be weird. He wrote movies through the 1920s. He was big in the silent era, which was when they would be called scenario writers because there was no dialogue to write. He also wrote a bunch of short stories. He won the O. Henry Prize for short stories twice, which
so he had an incredible imagination, is what you're saying, right, Matt? I mean,
it's funny that you put it that way, because that imagination really gets put to some use.
Gotcha. I'm just trying to create the mood here. Okay, guy who was a writer of silent films who had an amazing imagination.
Yes.
So there you go.
So let's talk about somewhere in early-ish 1928. He is at home in Hollywood. He feels all tingly. He lays down. He feels like he's dying. And then he goes to sleep. And he has a dream. And in this dream, he is on a table and he is being massaged by angels who tell him the secrets of the world and of life, and how we are in multiple, there are 4 spheres that make up all of creation. One sphere, like, so the concentric circles, I think.
Like 4 balls?
Yeah, like 4 balls.
The first thing that I thought about was some like heavenly happy ending, but please continue. The story is
so I believe when he laid down on the table, they first made sure he wasn't law enforcement. But so that's fantastic. No, this is great to know. This is absolutely compelling. What you need to know about this, like in this time, it's all angels, spirits.
Okay.
So we are very much in the supernatural realm, spiritual realm, right?
And this is not even a funny question. Did he name any of them? Was it Gabriel? Did he see Jesus Christ and the Holy Ghost?
Not
was
yet.
It angels?
No, not yet. He will.
Not yet. Okay.
No,
and the reason I'm asking,
he will take meetings with Jesus Christ.
There is a reason I'm asking is because, where I was born, or I was raised LDS.
Yes.
I was raised Mormon, and there's a lot of similar, myths and memes that sort of go through history. But when you first said, I did think about the story of Joseph Smith, the first prophet, right. And how he was visited by, heavenly beings to give him the truth of what they needed to know. So as far as an ascended master type of story, but please continue, my friend. The heavenly masseuse is fantastic.
The heavenly, yes, it was multiple. It was a multiple hand masseuse or masseuses.
Okay.
Masseusai.
Well, that's the name of the angels that masseuse in heaven. They're the masseusai.
So while his limbs and extremities are being the tingling is being rubbed away. This is his words. Now, do not take this wrong.
That's impossible to take wrong that the tingling was rubbed away.
He is given insight as to what heaven looks like. And do you know what heaven looks like? Kind of like Earth. A lot whiter. That's going to be key. It's very white in heaven. Everything is white. Angels drove white cars in heaven because there's cars.
I mean,
they went to jobs that were white. I don't know what that means.
He can turn water into gas.
Hopefully, because I don't know. Or you know what? It's probably run on like those Care Bear powers, like you fill up the tank just by.
Well, I guess part of this though, it does. I don't even want to go into Koresh. I don't want to go into sort of the sexuality that's surrounded by prophets or any of that yet, right? But it's the same. It's the same sort of vibe you get.
Yeah. So
from those type of leaders, right? For me, it's the same kind of vibe. And if you're talking about, visiting angels, rubbing the tingly away, which I think it's in Deuteronomy 7:12, where it says, "Thou shalt have thou tingles rubbed away by the Masusai." So I think this is a
dude definitely wrote that. Yeah, you are correct. That was a dude thing to write. Okay. He wakes up and he somehow comes to the conclusion that this whole experience where he sees heaven, the force, spheres, all of that lasted 7 minutes. So he spent 7 minutes in heaven, but he did not name the book that he eventually write. He did not name it 7 Minutes in Heaven. So again, this is not that kind of story. It keeps sounding like it's that kind of story. He wrote 7 Minutes in Eternity.
Okay.
This coincided with a couple things. One, talkies, sound pictures. Not a lot of the talent that worked in silent films made the successful transition.
Right.
Totally different skill set. Same thing with him, like as a writer. Now, what I don't know was that just because, again, he's used to writing short stories, prose, where, you've got dialogue, but it's not the way you convey the story primarily the way, say, film would be. So I'm thinking his decline, because he was getting less work in Hollywood. And I would think it's because the skill set needed was changing. That's not how he took it. It was Jewish conspiracy against him.
That I've heard that's a common trope. I've heard this before.
Now, mind you, these are all the same bosses that had been hiring him for the better part of a decade. And it's not as if the whole industry wasn't seeing an upheaval and changing. It was that they were suddenly aligned against him.
Well, it's almost as if anti-Semitism is something that we're even dealing with today. But please continue.
Ooh, weird,
Matt, because this is amazing that we've gone from rubbing out tinglies to anti-Semitism already.
Yeah,
I think let's go ahead and let's couch this in a correct way.
And we are only at this was like the prologue, because now we get to Dudley Unleashed, if you will.
Okay.
He flees Hollywood, sets up shop in Asheville, North Carolina. Weird that the only reason why he could afford it was he was backed by a benefactor who was also a rich banker. Now, it seems like he would be against that because, again, when a conspiracy theorist talks about a rich banker, it's usually not in a positive way.
No, it's usually in a globalist type of way.
Exactly.
Yep.
This one was totally cool, I guess. Whatever.
Protestant banker.
So, yeah, that's what it was. So while in North Carolina, he does a couple things. He's still kind of feeling out like this. Again, this episode is called American Fascism, but with spaceships. We are now about to enter the fascist stage. So he doesn't really know what to do. He's written this book about this near-death experience, out-of-body experience. He actually referred to it because the term out-of-body experience wasn't commonly used back in 1928. He actually referred to it as hypo-dimensional travel.
I like that better than NDE, to be honest.
Me too. What this story then gets more and more elaborate. He's written it down. It's sold. But he keeps adding different things. Like now he knows automatic writing. He's got clairvoyance. He was given superpowers. Basically, a radioactive angel bit him while rubbing him, and now he's got superpowers. Okay? Good enough.
Why does this sound like some kind of mix between Shazam and L. Ron Hubbard? I mean, it's
because that's about to come from Mighty Peculiar Studios.
That's unbelievable. It really is. I mean, when you're talking about, it's almost like it's this sort of weird quickening that they have where they're somehow not only smarter than everybody and granted with special powers, but they're the only ones with the truth, you know. And if you think about prophets and things like that, it's always amazing to me that it's just this pattern of crazy. And remember at the beginning when I was talking about his imagination, which I didn't know it would go this far, to be honest, because I know that we do this show so you can surprise me in a lot of ways. It almost is to me, and this is completely serious, you have somebody maybe with an overactive imagination who had some success, saw that his life had sort of passed him by. Then he had to come up using his imagination with some kind of super grift or some way, right? And that super grift has to be connected to superpowers. Or it has to be connected to something special that me and you cannot attain. The average person doesn't have the ability to grasp that kind of truth. The average person needs to be led by them because they can't make decisions for themselves. And that's what's so amazing about this. It breeds from an imagination, maybe a little bit of success, but it also seems like he's crossing over into a belief system, right, where there might be grift involved, but also there's a lot of money to be made by recycling specific types of conspiracy theories or specific types of hate. So that's my part one summary.
Well, and it's funny to pick up on the thread that you just set out with, like, that this is wisdom that and abilities that he has that not necessarily are transferable to others, right? But what he can now do and what he has kind of started crafting this mythology into is he is calling them in what's weird is he clearly didn't, he was workshopping names. So it was like he borrowed ascended masters from theosophy, but he didn't stick with that. Then there was higher mentors, which is pretty funny because I just think that it was like the guy in the dorm that was like your, RA or whatever. That he was the high mentor for sure. Yeah, like
it's the spiritual Scullys, man.
Exactly.
Right.
And when you hear about them, that's kind of what they sound like. Actually, they're all white. Again, let's keep that in mind. They are all, very good looking. They are all very white. Let's see. They're very white. There's no shades. They're very white.
My guess is there's no people of color, I think is what you're trying to say.
No. I mean, not that I've achieved any form of ascension or mentorship or anything like that. Okay. So he's kind of just waffling around in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And not sure what to do. So we are now in about like 1930, we're in 1930 actually. He decides to start a college. Galahad University. So enrollment was very lackluster. It quickly became a correspondence-only course.
Like Trump University.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got a little college, tried to do in-person, didn't work, correspondence only. Now, this is a weird blend of like hardcore like Christianity, but with his, what currently does not have a name, but his spiritualism, this higher mentors, we'll just call it, because that's what he eventually settles on, that they are, he ripped off the ascended masters and they're the higher mentors. But somehow it's also Christianity because it's the real way to Christianity. I don't know.
Well, again, no, that's absolutely correct. When you talk about other prophets and they're the only way, I mean, we can talk about Jim Jones, right? We can talk about David Koresh. Hell, we could talk about Marshall Applewhite, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that is really, I think, what attracts people who want individuals to lead them in a certain way. I don't know. It just seems, Matt, and I'll tell you true lately, I think some people like the strong man, and let's be honest, the strong woman type of, type of leader. If you look at conspiracy theories or cults, at least over even in recent memory over the past 70 to 80 years. And so I think there's really, what's not unique about these grifters and what makes me so freaking enraged when we're seeing it today, whether it's, even people like Trump, right? Who, what is it? What does he say that he's the only one who can fix it, right? The incredible book that was written about that, I alone can fix it.
Yeah,
that is, I think, the whole thing about when you're talking about American fascism with spaceships, is this I alone can fix it spirituality.
Yes,
that comes
they
from
have the unique way. They have the unique way.
There's a unique way to truth, right? But it's always my way, right, or the highway.
Right, exactly. So what he does now, again, he's also publishing. He starts Galahad Publishing. He's sticking with Galahad as his theme for a couple of years. But then he's basically bouncing around from 1928 to 1933. Those are his years of trying to run a college, running a newsletter. He's writing lots of like little books, pamphlets. He's doing the mail order, like what John Birch Society would do, where it's he's doing all of that. The direct marketing kind of
worldwide tour of massage parlors.
Exactly. Hey, other dimensional
massage parlors.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't wait to talk about that one day. But go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
So,
please. Don't let me stop you.
But what's happening here is you're seeing a guy that hasn't found his calling yet, right? You see him searching around. He's making ends meet. But then we get to January 30th, 1933. And he sees the news of Hitler becoming Chancellor of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be fair to people in 1933, you could look at that news and not acknowledge it. You could look with a little bit of trepidation. People weren't totally sure, especially if weren't watching someone like Hitler closely. But for Dudley, it was a mind-blowing, mind-opening moment. And we go from January 30th, 1933 to January 31st, 1933, where he founds the Silver Legion of America.
There he is.
And he cuts a dashing figure. So this guy, this lovable scamp of a man, decides that I want to be America's Hitler. That's what I want to do. It's a reasonable thing.
So he's satisfying those tingles for real now.
Yes. So what's happening now, you almost have to, he will never fully let go or he'll never fully leave the massage table, but he's venturing away from it, right? He's not clinging to it like the pleasure craft that it was.
So has he, I know we're not going to be able to psychoanalyze, a sort of this narcissistic shitbag like Dudley.
Right.
And I would never try. But is with it, the way that he has gone from the tingly masters, to the spiritual Scullys.
Yeah.
Right. Then he moved on to Galahad. Do you think when you're looking
Sorry, I'm writing that down. Sorry.
Right.
Tingly masters to spiritual Scullys. If I need an autobiography name, I am
that might be it. Well, the thing is, and this is a real question.
Yep.
And I think as we're going through, and I know that we have so much fun doing this, but is Hitler his new Galahad? It seems like he's just replacing sort of a superiority figure one after the other based on his mental state.
It's his aspirational figure. In his own worldview, Galahad was probably cast himself as that, right? Well, now here's this real world version, and he loves everything that he sees about Hitler, because what is going to be what was probably always present, because again, have I mentioned that the higher mentors were white?
Yes, that's yes.
So why I keyed in on that being very important is because I think Hitler's rise to power and this founding of the Silver Legion of America and its like paramilitary arm, as it would be called, is the Silver Shirts, which was expressly modeled after Hitler's brown shirts.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So just to paint a picture for, everyone, because all the photos are in black and white. The shirt button up, silver button up shirt, blue tie, blue corduroy pants, and like stockings up to the knees.
Okay.
If you are not like indoors and you are being a gentleman silver shirt, you would wear a campaign hat. And then emblazoned on all the silver shirts over your heart is a red L.
So they're like the super losers. Like they're they're the Injustice League.
They are definitely the Injustice League. So
the Injustice League, they're super loser.
Now,
right?
if you ask Dudley,
those guns.
Yeah, if you ask Dudley, the L stands for love, loyalty, and liberation, which I would be like, well, shouldn't it be 3 L's? Like, dude, that's how it works. Like, one letter stands for one word.
So what does it stand for? Love, loyalty,
liberty,
and liberation?
or sorry, love, loyalty, and liberation.
Okay, love, loyalty, and liberation.
Okay.
He's working it.
One of my favorite things, actually. This is just because Hitler was der Führer? I'm not.
Yeah, the Führer.
He was like, well, you guys got to call me the chief.
Oh.
So he's the chief.
He's the chief.
He's still Dudley to me, but he wanted people to call him the chief. And that will carry over.
He's sort of ascended to a tingly master now.
Yes. Now, what he is not talking about so he's keeping these worlds a little bit separate. Although there's some overlapping, hands of the masseuses, or they're kind of, every now and then grazing each other. So there's the world of the Silver Legion of America and the Silver Shirts, which is a political movement. And then there's all his like spiritual stuff. So he believes in this time that he is continuing to travel to meet with the higher mentors. Maybe in the Himalayas, maybe in a different plane of reality. Often Jesus is there, and Hitler, and Dudley sitting around talking about, the state of the world and what needs to happen in America. To be fair, recruitment's never great. Like, you have to pay dues. You have to buy your own uniform. You have to tell him the exact time and date, or exact hour and minute of your birth to sign up for the Silver Shirts, because he's going to do your horoscope for you.
So it's a combination of numerology, horoscope, right? Yep. You got a guy who can't afford, with dues to pay for jeans and a shirt.
Nope.
They got a big L on their shirt. The reason he's doing this is because he's had this incredible evolution.
Yep.
From a massage table to Hitler.
Yep.
I find it absolutely stunning.
That's going to be the college course I teach. From the massage table to Hitler.
And, we have spiritual Scullys. We have his, this sort of Galahad bizarre thing. And, and I'm not trying to, it's almost as if, and I don't know if I should say this on the show, but I don't know if I should say this, but it's almost
we'll stamp this moment just in case.
Well, it's almost like they're uncomfortable, even also the way they idealize the male figure and the masculinity part of it, which feels like Turning Point USA to me, or it feels like a lot of these, It almost seems to me that there's a confusion about sexuality, and I'm not even saying that in a weird way. It's almost as if there's something going on there also underneath the imagination, the narcissism, the lack of morals, the hate, and the anti-Semitism, I think at the bottom of that might be some sexual confusion.
Yeah.
And I think that is a hell of a mix, right? And maybe I took that too far, but I'm not even trying to be
You
funny.
didn't take it too far, because I will tell you this. Talking about like a confused message, the idea that, one, he's probably not really thinking these beliefs. He's building a mythology in real time as he needs it. So the mythology gets more complicated and sometimes contradictory, right? Because he's just got to keep spinning it.
Hit him in the amygdala. We've talked about that.
So
Consistency is a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. So one of his things, because people then asked, okay, you got, he's claimed at different points, powers of levitation, the ability to do automatic writing. That will come back into play later.
Yeah, my powers. I can't stop it. I'm levitating.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, back down.
You know what?
Okay.
I can go downstairs that don't exist. It's always conveniently behind a couch. That's a good power, though. I didn't even have
That's
to
a dad power.
I didn't even have to hang out with Spicoli for that to learn
Jesus
that one.
Christ, you would think somebody would like, oh, you can automatically levitate? Fucking do it.
Right.
Levitate.
See,
well,
right. No, but someone did ask, if you can do all this stuff, why can't I? Or how can I? And he said that like all of this power relies in stimulation of the pituitary gland, which then was pointed out that is often most stimulated during sex.
You know what? Am I a genius?
So, but wait, hold on. Yes,
listen, Doug, am I a genius? I mean,
you are a genius because guess what?
Because I came up with tingly masters.
Right. And because guess what? Like any good lead, he wants to lead by example. So he doesn't want to give the advice to his followers that just go out and have a bunch of sex and you'll be levitating and automatic writing. No. Don't do that, because if you do that, you'll be distracted from, putting on your blue corduroys and your silver shirt that calls you a loser. So it's what he makes a distinction. It's
amazing.
Not, you have to deprive yourself of passion. It's the love you feel in your heart, not the physical passion.
So it sounds like Marshall Applewhite from Hale Bopp.
Is the real way to stimulate the pituitary gland is emotional love, not the way that an actual pituitary gland is. So he's doing it. He's exactly
corollary.
Right.
Unbelievable corollary between the Hale Boppers. Matt, that is brilliant. And I'm not saying this as fun. It's amazing to me. That is amazing research, number one. But number two, the fact that I've been doing this for so long now. As soon as you said angels, I know that was the beginning of the show, getting massaged by angels. I'm already assuming thinking those are white male angels. There's
yes.
Right?
Because for him, he self-described feminist, Dudley, sees all the roles for women to be exactly where you'd think that this feminist thinks that women belong. So yes, as far as ascended masters or higher mentors, I mean,
so William
there's kitchens
Dudley
in
Pelley,
heaven. We know that because there's cars, but that's where they belong.
Yeah, William Dudley Pelley, right?
Yep.
Matt Walsh.
Yes. They are advocating the same kind of thing.
Okay. So we get this Silver Surfer loser dude, right? And he's now a tingly master.
Yes.
And he started these bunch of these people wearing loser shirts with knickers or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And he's running around saying that not to have sex, but love is in the heart.
Right.
Right.
If you want to levitate and
why did I just think of the song Groove is in the Heart?
Don't give Doug ideas.
Groove is in the heart, right? So we got love is in the heart.
Yes.
And now this guy's a fascist.
Yes.
He's a Hitler boy.
Yep.
Right. So now he's actually creating a fascist society based on some kind of spiritual awakening after he wrote for silent films.
Yep.
And actually he wrote some short stories. So high active imagination, grifter, fascist, with probably sexual issues for real.
Yes.
And also maybe so much hate inside of him that he's trying to actually create something false out of that, because he feels like that he's so smart and so gifted that he's rationalizing this shit show, that he calls mental illness.
Yes. So what would you do if you are at that point? You are, let's see here. Okay. You've got a little group. You guys are kind of making a little bit of waves. The money's coming in. Enrollment numbers in the Silver Legion or the Silver Shirts, it's kind of hard to pin down. Like at the height, dues paying members, and again, this was an annual fee of I think it was $8 was the annual fee, and then $6 separate for your uniform. The highest number was 15,000.
That's
countrywide.
That's impressive.
It's not insignificant. That being said, other people say it was 1,500. He just fudged the number and put an extra zero. So, it's how many votes you wanted. But
how many people showed up at Trump's inauguration?
More than anyone else ever.
You always add a zero.
Yeah, you got.
That's how you lie. Zeros. You add a zero. But so.
Yeah. So what he did though. Okay. So now keep in mind. So here we are. We're in the height of the New Deal, right? So. Roosevelt, he's in his first term, and we're now rapidly approaching the 1936 election, in which Roosevelt will have a real tough time getting reelected against Alf Landon. No.
Fantastic historical analysis, man.
Yeah, it was a real struggle for Roosevelt. But guess what? He's got more competition, because here's the problem. For Dudley, the spark wasn't there anymore. Membership was down. Money was getting tight. No one was really listening to him anymore. What's a good way if you were quickly becoming a has-been? Like, I need to raise my profile. I need people to pay attention to me again. Maybe you descend an escalator. They hadn't been invented yet, I don't think. But you descend a silver escalator and you say, guess what, guys, I'm running for president. Because in 1936, Dudley declares for president. He creates his own party to do it, though, because no one wants this guy.
What's the party?
The Christian Nationalist Party.
Really?
It's the Christian party, but it is expressly Christian nationalist, because he comes up with his own little platformy thing that, seems reasonable. He basically, and he grafts this onto the Silver Legion's mission, right? Because the Silver Legion's mission was always a little nebulous, I guess is the best way to put it. It was very pro-Hitler, but we're at the height of the Great Depression. Like, there was unrest and uncertainty in the country, but it was at the time that the population was the most unified behind the president they just elected. So you weren't dealing with that kind of perfect storm of circumstances, right?
He wasn't able to monetize fascism in a way he thought he could.
Right. Because people were feeling hope at the time that he was trying to basically create fear, because what he wanted to do was run in 1936, defeat Landon, defeat Roosevelt. Then that would be the last election. Because from that point forward, he was going to do basically the Hitler model, get elected legitimately once and then leave, and then never leave. And it would no longer be president, because president had connotations that he didn't like, because there weren't term limits yet, but like that had all institutional memory there. So the chief, he'd be the chief. And what he wanted to basically do was create a Christian ideal for the United States. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to throw this out to you. He wanted to create the Fellowship of Peoples. Okay?
Oh God, I thought you were going to talk about Jewish space lasers, but go ahead.
So his Fellowship of Peoples was very white.
Yes.
Again, let's go back to the idea. It's very white.
You're so right.
So now with this Christian paradise that he was going to create, and I don't understand this, so I'm going to just I'm going to read a quote here.
Okay, I'm ready. Bring it.
Okay, because as people point out, this government that he wants to run, he wants to get elected into and then create is somehow capitalist, communist, socialist, and weirdly spiritual all at the same time. So private property would be abolished.
Okay.
The government would nationalize all industries.
That's fashy.
Then the government would be reorganized as a corporation. And then white Protestant males without a criminal record would be issued a share in the new corporation, like a stock, basically. And then each year they would be given the opportunity to earn more shares and dividends that would eventually somehow magically become a universal basic income. And then black people would be re-enslaved and Jews would be booted.
So he's like
Simple.
a cross between Jefferson Davis, Andrew Yang.
But he would not. He would. Just to be clear, he would not like Andrew Yang to be near there.
I'm just talking about the UBI part.
Right? Yeah.
Sure's a great guy. I got a feeling he's not a fascist, right? I just got a feeling that he's not a white supremacist.
Right. But it's telling you
nationalization
the
is
sections of his
unbelievable. And when I talk about a corporate entity, right? That's another conspiracy theory that's huge in the United States today. I mean, it is absolutely stunning to hear this. And I know that we're rolling and this is so exciting, but that is just unbelievable that he was able to merge that together in any type of way that makes any sense, because he obviously didn't, but nobody probably cared. Yeah. Right.
What's funny is that whole thing about like no criminal record and you would be allowed to have shares. He couldn't get on the ballot in North Carolina because of securities fraud and money laundering.
So, it's really it's surprising.
He only got on the ballot in one state, in Washington State. He got suspiciously the number around 1,500 votes in one state, which is also claimed to be the low point of membership. So suffice to say, he didn't really
didn't do well.
Didn't do well.
So now you have somebody who's also a criminal.
Yep.
That's a tingly master.
Yep.
Listening to the spiritual Scullys. Probably has some issues based on the massage parlor stuff.
And it was stolen. It was stacked against him, the election.
Right.
It was corrupt.
The election was stolen. Oh, so we have Stop the Steal.
Yep. Because why would an honest system not allow such a upstanding gentleman like Dudley to appear on the ballots?
That's why this show is so important, Matt. That's why this show is so important.
So,
right? Because nothing you're seeing today is new. It's just actually metastasized through social media and alternate media and the ability to push electrons straight into people's brains, which is new. Yep. When you're talking about the Dudley Pelleys, when you're talking about the Mad Gasser Mattoon and the way that myths, actually sort of explode.
Yeah.
Right. When you're talking about the shows that we're doing, right, it's and you talk about RFK Jr., right, and his ability to, push out just random sort of weaponized nonsense based on social media. Look at this, right? We've already in the first 3 big shows, we've covered the metastasization of myth and the memeing of myth. We've covered how political leaders can actually sort of push stuff in the social media sphere and stuff that's been done before. And now we have an individual like William Dudley Pelley, right, who seems to be an odd mix between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes.
Right. And it's just really interesting to me, to listen to this.
And then that mix is about to become like more complicated and clearer. Like, so it's weird because if this is called With Spaceships, now we haven't heard about spaceships yet. Those come very quickly. Because what's going to happen is he loses this election, obviously.
Right.
So he's going to double and triple down on this this Hitler support. And this is going to be where the Silver Legion is going to fluctuate in some localized like successes, like, you know, intimidation of like local events. I mean, they're basically showing up at like at different local events and intimidating people, you know, kind of.
Like Proud Boy stuff, or
it's interesting.
that, yeah.
Now, one of my favorite things, though, because I don't like to let these guys have any victories, because they did seem, I mean, they were almost like the Keystone Cops of like fascist groups. Like it sounds like because in Minneapolis, they got run out of town. They were trying to do something, got run out of town by Jewish gangsters, like organized crime.
Dude, do not mess with Jewish gangsters.
And in Pennsylvania, a gathering of them, they got beat up by World War I veterans.
Oh my gosh. Now, first of all, when you said Pennsylvania, I thought you said getting beat up by the Amish.
No, that would have been good too.
But getting beat up by World War I veterans, just getting caned, you know, just sounds fantastic to me.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but what's going to happen here in short order is all of this activity is going to get the attention of Congress. He's going to go down in history as giving one of the most ridiculous testimonies to Congress that I think I've ever read. And that's saying something, I know, but, and let me say,
I was there. There's some pretty ridiculous stuff going on, so I need to, but I got to hear this.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, let me just say this. He did try and expand the appeal of the silver shirts. He did try to reach out to Native Americans, except problem is when he did it, he wrote them an open letter in which he called himself Chief Pelley of the tribe Silver, and he wrote it in broken English.
Dude, what is happening? That's mental illness, but it's also, I don't have the words.
Yep. So, all right. Pelley testified in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee in the 7th, 8th, and 10th of February. Now we are in World War II has started, right?
Okay.
He confessed his association with lots of like unsavory people, condemned Hitler or condemned FDR, praised Hitler, spouted anti-Semitic propaganda, said he had 25,000 silver shirts ready to make him the Hitler of America, claimed to have been approached by Nazi agents to have rebuffed their offers of financial assistance. He even claimed to have been investigated by the FBI and cleared of any wrongdoing, which then the FBI stepped up and said, we didn't do that. So he goes in front of Congress and is basically like, yeah, our president sucks. Hitler rules. I'm going to be Hitler. And guess what? Your FBI don't scare me. He got charged with sedition and went to jail.
And so what you're telling me is that I just heard the news for the last 48 hours. Yep. I mean, honestly, thank you. Yep. Yeah. Matt, we just heard the news for the last 48 hours in the form of a William Dudley Pelley, a tingling master that follows the spiritual Scullys. And
so
freaking believable.
So what we got,
this is unbelievable.
One last little bit here. He's sentenced to 15 years in prison. He serves 8. He's let out on the condition that he cannot really do any like political work, paid political work. He's still got a warrant for his arrest in North Carolina, so he can't go back there.
But what's his next grift? Like he's got to have.
Well, the one that had been working on was Hitler's Home Away from Home. Hitler was going to make it big in Hollywood when he won World War II. So he had been building a Hitler hideaway in Hollywood, but that didn't come together.
Building an actual domicile.
Yep. Yeah. Where Hitler, upon winning World War II, was going to somehow be allowed in the United States.
But was it being built by him?
It was being built. Their ruins are still there. You can still you can go stand where.
You can go to the American Hitler ruins?
Yep, you can. But what he does, what is next grift? He settles
in Indiana. It's like
Stonehenge
for morons.
It is. He's going to settle in Indiana. And what's interesting is what happens after 1947.
Well, I know this.
Yes.
I know
So UFOs are all the rage. So Why not just attach yourself to that? And this is where our American fascism, but with spaceships, comes in, because he's not even going to be particularly original. He is now going to essentially he's going to write new material, but it is basically everything that he wrote in 1928 now, and all angels, all the masseuses are just now aliens. Then he's going to take that and he's going to be like, you know what? Screw this whole Christianity thing. Like, whatever. Like, you didn't want me. I don't want you. So I am going to come up with something, and I'm going to call it like Soulcraft. And it's going to sound like an RPG, like a role-playing game. It's basically going to be a role-playing game. So he's a real low-rent L. Ron Hubbard at this point.
Which, by the way, again, I feel pretty vindicated.
Yep, exactly. See, I knew as soon as you said it.
I feel very vindicated. So here's what's incredible about this, because first of all, Soulcraft, how brilliant is that he put spacecraft together with soul. Woo-hoo.
Exactly.
What a writer from these silent films. You can see that incredible originality. I hope that my sarcasm's coming through a little bit. So this guy gets out of jail. He's got to make money. Yep. The prophet fascist line didn't work for him really well.
Nah.
The tingling masters now become, sort of the probing aliens, right? And he has to, in some way, actually put this together into something that has some semblance of a belief system, because let's be honest, nobody had really heard about him, but somewhere he was at some time, as you said, fairly successful.
Yeah.
And I think I think at this point he's drunk on his own mental bathwater. And so he comes out of jail much older, but now he's a Soulcraft prophet, and you're like a low rent L. Ron Hubbard. Yep. Right. That came from, sort of the Jesus.
Well, I mean, it's
the
exactly
silver
L. Ron
losers.
Hubbard. He went from fiction to supposedly nonfiction and created a religion. I mean, if you order L. Ron Hubbard from wish.com, what's delivered to your house is William Dudley Pelley. And you're like, this is not what I wanted, but it's like not that far off. I guess I'm okay with it. It was free shipping. So, what am I going to
tell you? The big dud, as I like to call him now, right? The big Dudley, I tell you, he's to do that kind of grift, to go to UFOs. I have my thoughts on UAPs and all these people and congressmen and senators. I'm just shaking my head at this gaseous explosion of UAP alien crazy. I just think it's really effective. I think aliens really are the new Jesus. And
okay,
I can't even say with straight face. So this is amazing. I mean, think about the corollary. I think this story, if you're talking about from fascism to spaceships, you're talking about truly American fascism during the time of Hitler, right? To a person who went to jail for sedition, which he very well should have. Yes. Right. Somebody who was a fraudster.
To be clear, it wasn't just that he was speaking out against the government, because when you read like the more like sympathetic biographies of him, they hilariously use law in quotes in terms that he broke the law. Like, he was getting money from the Nazis.
Well, of course
directly.
He was. And it was the deep state that took him down.
Right. Yep. So
it's the law.
You're right. He broke the law, and
the law, because the deep state was happening.
So he was really, being funded by an American adversary in a time of war, trying to, delegitimize the president.
He embodies the worst of the people we mentioned throughout this show.
Exactly.
And no joking aside. And I wonder if Soulcraft made him some money. I bet it did.
He died pretty quick afterwards. He did write that he was he prophesized his own time of death, and he was off by like 30 years. So it seemed to work great.
Well, within every 100 years, you're pretty good as a prophet, right?
I guess he got it within a couple of decades. So
man, he was close. He was only off by 30 years. 30%. Good job, brother. This has been amazing. Again, I don't really, it's these kind of stories I hope people really listen to. And we're talking about William Dudley Pelley, the American fascist, but with spaceships. And
guys,
I just don't know what to do.
This is really awkward. Hold on. I feel like you're laughing at me. Listen, I'm supposed to be at a party and I'm listening to the show in my headphones and I'm supposed to be at this night of 1,000 Laverne's cosplay thing.
That's what
And I feel like just listening to what you guys are saying, I might have accidentally joined like an antique hate group. And so that's weird.
I think, dude, I think they're calling me now.
Did they ask you for like $6 or like $8 and like the time that you were born?
Oh my God.
They did. And Carl back there, like he's been like, I don't mind if you're a little politically incorrect, but like he's just letting it fly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's not a Laverne and Shirley group. Sorry, man.
No. So that's
the L is cracked.
Yeah, no. So it's like it's really bothering me. I gotta get out of here. Like this is wild. So I'm just gonna read your mail very quickly.
Yes, and please do.
Yes. I don't want to be seen with these guys.
No. I'd get away from them.
So okay, hold on. Wasn't Steve Bannon a screenwriter? That comes from Frankie.
Yes, he was.
I tell you what, unbelievable. That's a great question, and we should have put that together with our boy Dud, with the big Dud, right?
With the big Dud.
Just unbelievable, and the corollaries just keep on coming. This is incredible. Great question. Yes,
he did.
Makes complete sense.
He did write a movie that tried to say that global warming or climate change wasn't real by locking people in a bank and slowly rising the temperature.
Oh, wow. Okay, this one comes from Sarah. What would the catchphrase of a spiritual Spicoli be?
Oh,
that's good. That's a good question.
That is good. Okay, well, wait. All right. What was the
Pieces
teacher's
from
name,
the
Mr. Hand?
Angels.
Yeah, his teacher was Mr. Hand.
Yeah,
okay.
Mr. Hand.
Yeah. So
and we got pizza involved, right? When Spicoli.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So I was going to say that Angel and pizzas have to be in there somewhere. This is a good one. This is a good one. So, what would the phrase be for a spiritual Spicoli? What would the catchphrase be?
Hey, soy boy, let's party.
Yes.
All right.
I like
Kyle,
it.
Mr. Hand.
Done.
Hello, Mr. Hand.
So
my dogs hated that.
Done. That's fucking brilliant.
Okay, this leads into another great question. This one comes from Gene. Why does every fascist group insist on calling their enemies soy boys and their members alpha males? What exactly is the reason? I just got beer in my blouse.
I almost feel like you might be qualified to answer this one at this point.
I think because
honestly,
I do think it's because there has to be some kind of, they're so weak. They're always looking for a master, right? They're looking for somebody to follow, like a strong man or something like that. I just think they're always trying to reiterate their masculinity because of how uneven they actually are as men. Because there's no real man who would act like that. And by the way, I think most of these people who, people like who hide behind the walls in Mar-a-Lago, right? Who call names, I think usually the ones that scream the loudest are the biggest cowards. And I think that's what you have with this alpha boy, which I didn't know there was a superhero, but we're alpha and soy boys. I honestly believe it comes down to, again, I think they have some real confusion about who they are. And I'm not even kidding.
All right. Well, everybody, I know Denver's got a media hit to do. Matt's got to walk his dogs. So with that being said, great show.
Dog is yelling at me. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a great. What'd you think, Doug? We did all right.
I loved it. But I can't get "Groove is in the Heart" out of my head.
That's right. But this is great, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Signing off till next week.
Loved hearing about the Dollar Tree Nazis with Maddie and Denver. Good seeing you. And with that being said, join us next week on The Mighty Peculiar. country now.